I sat at our Thanksgiving dinner table listening to my mother gush over Tyler's latest fabricated success story while completely ignoring that I had just paid off her $3,000 medical bill last week. When she suddenly turned to me with venom in her eyes and snapped, "You're just a burden, Randall. Always have been." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. Tyler laughed from across the table, his voice dripping with smugness as he added, "At least I make this family proud." 26 years of quietly supporting this family financially while they worshipped my unemployed brother crashed down on me in that moment. I put down my fork, stood up, without saying a single word, and walked out of that house knowing everything was about to change forever. The drive home felt like moving through thick fog. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles went white, and I could barely see the road through the blur of rage and hurt flooding my vision. When I finally reached my cramped studio apartment on the east side of town, I collapsed into my secondhand chair and stared at the peeling paint on the ceiling. For 3 years, I had been the invisible foundation holding my family together financially. After Dad's construction business went under because Tyler convinced him to invest in some ridiculous get-rich-quick scheme, I quietly stepped in to cover everything. The mortgage payments, utility bills, grocery money, car insurance, health coverage for Mom's diabetes medication. Every month, $2,400 disappeared from my software engineering salary to keep their suburban dream alive, while I lived like a college student in a 400-square-foot box. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Randall, you embarrassed us tonight. Tyler worked very hard to get that promotion." I stared at the message, remembering how Tyler had described his new senior marketing position, with theatrical gestures and corporate buzzwords that made no sense. The same Tyler who had been between opportunities for 8 months and spent his days playing video games in the basement room he occupied rent-free. I opened my laptop and logged into my banking app, something I rarely did because seeing the damage always made me sick to my stomach. The automatic payment section showed the brutal truth in black and white. Mortgage to First National Bank, $2,800 monthly. Commonwealth Electric averaging $260. Groceries delivered to their address, $350 bi-weekly. Insurance premiums for 3 vehicles, including Tyler's BMW, which he claimed was a company car from his non-existent job. My cursor hovered over the first payment. In 3 years, I had transferred $93,420 to keep my family afloat, while living on peanut butter sandwiches and instant coffee. I had not taken a vacation, had not dated anyone seriously because dinner and movies felt like unaffordable luxuries, had not even bought myself decent clothes because every spare penny went to maintaining their comfortable lifestyle. The most twisted part was how they had rewritten history to make Tyler the hero. Last month, when our neighbor Mrs. Patterson complimented Mom on how well-maintained their house looked, Mom had beamed with pride and said, "Oh, Tyler handles all our financial planning. He's so responsible with money." Meanwhile, Tyler was upstairs sleeping off another hangover from his networking events at sports bars. I clicked on the mortgage payment and selected Cancel Automatic Payment. A confirmation dialog appeared asking if I was sure. My finger trembled over the trackpad for exactly 2 seconds before I clicked yes. Then I canceled the electric bill, the water bill, the internet, the insurance payments, the grocery deliveries. One by one, every financial lifeline I had extended to my family disappeared with simple mouse clicks. When I finished, I felt something I had not experienced in years. Peace. Complete, total, crystalline peace. My bank account would finally start growing instead of hemorrhaging money into the black hole of their entitled expectations. I could afford to live like an adult instead of a financial martyr subsidizing people who saw my sacrifices as evidence of my weakness rather than my love. I made myself a real dinner for the first time in months, grilled chicken with vegetables, instead of another 99-cent frozen meal. As I ate, I calculated how much money I would save each month. Nearly $4,000 that I could put toward my own future, instead of funding their delusions about Tyler's imaginary career success. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Tyler. "Bro, mom's upset. You should apologize for storming out like a drama queen." I deleted the message without responding and turned off my phone. Tomorrow, I would start living my own life for the first time since I was 23 years old. Tonight, I was going to sleep soundly, knowing that their financial crisis was no longer my emergency to solve. 3 weeks passed without a single phone call, text message, or attempt at contact from anyone in my family. The silence spoke volumes about how they truly saw me. I was not a son or brother to be missed, just a utility they assumed would keep running indefinitely regardless of how they treated me. They probably figured I was sulking and would come crawling back once I got over my tantrum at Thanksgiving. Instead, I used those 3 weeks to remember who I was before I became their personal ATM. I joined Planet Fitness and started working out every morning before my commute to the tech startup, where I led a team of developers building cloud infrastructure. My body soft from years of stress eating, and no exercise began responding to consistent training. My shoulders broadened, my energy increased, and for the first time in years, I felt physically strong instead of perpetually exhausted. I updated my dating profile on Bumble, replacing the outdated photos where I looked haggard and defeated with new pictures that showed a confident man with clear eyes and genuine smiles. I bought clothes that actually fit properly, instead of the cheap, ill-fitting garments I had worn for years while sending my clothing budget to cover Tyler's car payments. One afternoon, while waiting for my order at the coffee shop near my office, I heard someone call my name. Marcus Williams. My roommate from college approached with a huge grin and genuine enthusiasm I had forgotten people could feel when seeing me. "Randall, man, it's been forever. You look incredible. Like, seriously, what's your secret?" We caught up over lattes, and I found myself actually talking about my life instead of deflecting every conversation towards safe, neutral topics. Marcus was thriving as a graphic designer for a major advertising firm, had recently gotten engaged to his girlfriend Sarah, and owned a beautiful townhouse in the Arts District. "I always wondered why you never came to any of our group gatherings," Marcus said. "Every time I invited you somewhere, you'd say money was tight or you had family obligations." For some reason, maybe the caffeine or maybe just the relief of talking to someone who knew me before I became a walking wallet, I told him everything. The failed business. Tyler's lies, the years of financial support, the Thanksgiving explosion. Marcus listened with growing disbelief, shaking his head as the story unfolded. "Dude, Tyler was always a user even in college. Remember when he borrowed your textbooks and sold them without asking? Or when he convinced that girl Jennifer that you were his personal assistant and that's why you did his laundry?" Marcus leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I didn't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I should probably tell you something. My cousin Derek works at Morrison Marketing Group downtown. Tyler got fired from there 6 months ago for stealing office supplies and lying about meeting with clients who never existed." The revelation hit like a physical blow, but instead of pain, I felt vindicated. Everything I suspected was true. Tyler was not just unemployed, he was unemployable. His promotion at Thanksgiving was pure fiction designed to make me look worse by comparison. I started seeing Dr. Sarah Coleman, a therapist who specialized in family dysfunction and codependency. Our first session was revelation after revelation, as she helped me identify patterns of manipulation I had accepted as normal family dynamics. The way Mom always praised Tyler's potential while criticizing my actual achievements, how Dad taught me to be responsible while enabling Tyler's irresponsibility. The subtle and not so subtle ways they had trained me to value their approval over my own well-being. During our third session, I received a LinkedIn message from Amanda Rodriguez. I remembered her as Tyler's girlfriend during his junior year of college, a smart pre-law student who dumped him after discovering he had been cheating with multiple women. Now her profile showed she was a successful attorney at a prestigious firm in the financial district. "Hi, Randall. I hope you remember me from college. I was wondering if you might have time for coffee this week. There's something important I need to discuss with you regarding Tyler, and I think you deserve to know what's been going on." We met at an upscale cafe near her office. Amanda had evolved into an impressive woman, confident and professionally polished in a way that commanded respect. She got straight to the point. "I've been hearing disturbing things about Tyler through mutual friends, and I felt obligated to reach out to you." She pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots of Tyler's social media posts and dating profiles. "He's been telling people that he's your family's financial manager. Look at this." The images were devastating. Tyler's Facebook posts showed him at expensive restaurants claiming to be celebrating successful portfolio management for high-net-worth clients. His dating profile described him as an investment advisor, managing substantial family assets and responsible for maintaining multiple property investments. In every photo, he looked successful, confident, and completely convincing. He told a woman I know from law school that he's been handling complex financial planning for your family's real estate holdings. She was impressed by his supposed expertise and only found out he was lying when she mentioned his name to someone who actually knows your family situation. Amanda showed me more evidence. Screenshots of Tyler's LinkedIn profile claiming employment at companies that had never hired him. Instagram posts of him posing next to expensive cars with captions about test driving potential additions to the client fleet. Even worse, posts from restaurants and bars where he claimed to be entertaining investors, while actually using money he had borrowed from relatives under false pretenses. "Randall, he's been using your financial support as proof of his own success. Every dollar you've sent to help your family, Tyler, has twisted into evidence that he's a financial mastermind, managing family wealth." Amanda's expression was serious, professional. "I'm telling you this because what he's doing could have legal implications for you. If he's using your financial activity to support fraudulent claims about his own income and expertise, you could be implicated in any investigations." As I walked back to my office after our meeting, I felt the ground shifting beneath everything I thought I understood about my situation. Tyler was not just taking my money, he was stealing my identity as a successful, responsible person and wearing it as his own costume. Every sacrifice I had made to help my family had become a prop in Tyler's elaborate performance of success. That evening, I called Dr. Coleman for an emergency session. As I explained Amanda's revelation, she helped me understand something crucial. "Randall, you're not just dealing with family favoritism or financial stress. This is systematic manipulation and identity theft. Tyler isn't just irresponsible, he's actively criminal. And your parents aren't just enabling him. They're participating in a fantasy that's allowed him to harm you and potentially other people." For the first time since Thanksgiving, I felt something besides hurt and anger. I felt determined. Tyler's house of lies was about to come crashing down, and I was going to make sure I was not buried in the rubble. The first crack appeared on a cold Tuesday morning in December when Mom called Tyler in a panic because the mortgage payment had bounced. Tyler, still half asleep and hungover from another night of networking, assured her with practiced confidence that he would handle everything immediately. "Don't worry, Mom. It's just a temporary glitch with the automatic transfer system. I'll call the bank and sort it out today." Tyler had perfected the art of sounding competent while having absolutely no idea how to solve any actual problems. He promised Mom the issue would be resolved within hours, then spent the morning playing Call of Duty and Googling how to get emergency loan quickly. By afternoon, Tyler's desperation led him to call Dave Henderson, one of Dad's former construction buddies, who had always been impressed by Tyler's supposed financial acumen. Tyler spun an elaborate story about a delayed payment from a major client and asked for a short-term bridge loan of $5,000, promising to pay it back with interest within 2 weeks. Dave, remembering Tyler's confident explanations about investment strategies at Dad's birthday party, agreed to transfer the money immediately. Tyler used $3,000 to make a partial mortgage payment and spent the rest on maintaining his fake lifestyle, including dinner at an expensive steakhouse where he posted photos claiming to celebrate closing a major deal. Meanwhile, the utility bills began piling up like autumn leaves. Mom's prescription for diabetes medication got rejected at CVS because the insurance payment had lapsed. She had to call her sister Janet for emergency money, making up a story about unexpected medical expenses. The humiliation of begging relatives for help while Tyler supposedly managed their finances sent her into a spiral of confusion and denial. Tyler's BMW disappeared one Wednesday morning when the repo company arrived at dawn. Tyler told everyone the car was in the shop for routine maintenance while frantically applying for jobs he was completely unqualified for. His resume padded with fictional achievements and employment history got him exactly 0 callbacks from legitimate companies. Dad's old business associate, Frank Morrison, mentioned during their weekly coffee that Tyler had approached him asking to borrow money for investment opportunities. Frank, who had always been skeptical of Tyler's claims about financial expertise, found the request suspicious enough to mention it to Dad. "Your boy Tyler came by asking for $5,000 yesterday. Said he had some hot tip on cryptocurrency and needed quick capital to take advantage of market timing." Frank stirred his coffee thoughtfully. "Seemed odd to me. If he's doing as well as he claims, why does he need to borrow money for investments?" Dad brushed off Frank's concerns, still convinced that Tyler was simply going through a temporary rough patch in an otherwise successful career. The cognitive dissonance of believing Tyler was both a financial genius and constantly needing money somehow never resolved itself in Dad's mind. Tyler's job search became increasingly desperate as his lies caught up with him. During phone interviews, he could not answer basic questions about marketing strategies or financial planning. His references, all fictional, led to disconnected phone numbers. One interviewer, suspicious of Tyler's claims about managing multi-million-dollar portfolios, asked specific questions about investment vehicles that exposed Tyler's complete ignorance about actual financial management. The stress of maintaining his fabricated success while watching everything fall apart began showing in Tyler's appearance and behavior. He stopped shaving regularly, his clothes became wrinkled and stained, and his confident swagger deteriorated into nervous fidgeting. Mom noticed the changes but attributed them to Tyler being overworked rather than unemployed and desperate. On a Friday evening in mid-December, Dad decided to borrow jumper cables from Tyler's room to help start Mom's car after shopping. Tyler was out at another business meeting, actually sitting in his car at a parking lot, too ashamed to come home, so Dad went into the basement room to look for the cables. What he found instead was 3 months' worth of unopened bills stuffed into a shoebox under Tyler's bed. Mortgage statements marked "past due" in red letters. Utility bills with "final notice" warnings. Credit card statements showing maxed out limits and minimum payments in default. Most terrifying of all, an official foreclosure warning letter from First National Bank dated 2 days earlier, giving them 30 days to bring their payments current or face legal action to seize their home. Dad's hands shook as he read document after document revealing the financial catastrophe that had been hidden from him for months. The house he had built with his own hands 30 years ago, the home where he and Mom had raised their children and planned to spend their retirement, was about to be taken away because of Tyler's lies and incompetence. When Tyler finally came home that night, Dad was waiting in the living room with the box of bills spread across the coffee table like evidence at a crime scene. Tyler tried to maintain his confident facade for about 30 seconds before the weight of the truth crushed his performance. "I can fix this, Dad. I just need a little more time to get the client payments sorted out." Tyler's voice cracked as he spoke, his usual swagger completely absent. What clients, Tyler? Dad's voice was quiet but cold. "What payments? What job? Tell me the truth for once in your life." Tyler collapsed into the armchair and finally admitted what everyone except his parents had known for months. He had no job, no clients, no income, and no way to solve the financial disaster he had allowed to develop while pretending to manage their money. For the first time in his adult life, Tyler could not lie his way out of the consequences of his actions. Dad stared at his younger son, seeing clearly for the first time the man Tyler had actually become, instead of the successful person he had desperately wanted Tyler to be. The realization that he had enabled this catastrophe by believing Tyler's lies instead of recognizing Randall's sacrifices felt like a physical blow to his chest. Tyler, we're about to lose our home. Your mother might not be able to afford her medication, and you've been sitting here for months pretending to be someone you're not while everything falls apart. Dad's voice was steady, but Tyler could see tears forming in his eyes. What have you done to our family? Dad called me at work the next Monday morning, his voice shaking in a way I had never heard before. I was in the middle of reviewing code with my development team when my phone rang, showing his contact for the first time in almost a month. Son, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. He paused, and I could hear him struggling to find the words. Have you been paying our bills? The question hung in the air between us like a confession. I stepped away from my team and walked to an empty conference room, my heart pounding, as 3 years of hidden truth finally surfaced. Yes, Dad. I've been paying your mortgage, utilities, insurance, groceries, everything for 3 years. My voice was calm, but I felt something breaking open inside my chest. Since your business failed and Tyler convinced you to trust him with the finances? Dad was quiet for so long, I thought the call had dropped. When he finally spoke, his words came out in a broken whisper. Randall, I found 3 years' worth of bank statements in your mother's filing cabinet. Every month transfers from your account to ours. $2,500, $3,000, sometimes more. He cleared his throat. Tyler told us he was handling everything. He showed us statements, talked about investment strategies, made it sound like he was managing some kind of trust fund for the family. I sat down in one of the conference chairs, staring out the window at the city skyline, while Dad processed the magnitude of Tyler's deception. 3 years of Tyler taking credit for my financial support, while I lived like a struggling graduate student to keep their lives comfortable. Dad, Tyler hasn't had a job in 8 months. Everything he told you about promotions and clients and managing investments was completely fabricated. I kept my voice steady, professional, like I was explaining a technical problem to a client. The BMW you thought was his company car, I was making those payments. The health insurance that covered Mom's medications, I paid those premiums. Every single bill that kept your household running came from my salary while Tyler played video games and lied to your faces. The silence stretched between us again. I could hear Dad breathing heavily, probably sitting in his workshop where he used to build furniture before his arthritis got too bad to handle the tools. We're going to lose the house, he said finally. Tyler showed me the foreclosure notice yesterday. We owe $18,000 in back payments and fees, and we have 30 days. I know, I replied. I saw the payment schedule when I canceled the automatic transfers after Thanksgiving. Dad made a sound that might have been a sob or a cough. Randall, your mother called you a burden. I sat there and let her say that to you while you were the only thing keeping us from being homeless. His voice broke completely. How could we have been so blind? How could we have let Tyler lie to us for so long? That afternoon, Dad confronted Mom with the bank statements and Tyler's admission about having no job or income. Mom's initial reaction was complete denial, insisting that Dad must be mistaken or that Tyler was just going through a temporary setback that would resolve itself soon. Tyler has always been ambitious, Mom argued. He's probably just between clients right now. You know how consulting work can be unpredictable. Dad showed her the foreclosure notice, the overdue utility bills, the canceled insurance policies. He explained how Tyler had been borrowing money from family friends using fictional stories about delayed payments and investment opportunities. Mom stared at the evidence like it was written in a foreign language she could not understand. The breaking point came when Dad pulled up Tyler's social media profiles on Mom's iPad, showing her the photos and posts where Tyler claimed to be managing family wealth and celebrating successful financial deals. The same Tyler who had been sleeping until noon every day and asking for gas money was presenting himself to the world as a sophisticated investment advisor, using Randall's money as proof of his expertise. Mom's denial cracked but did not shatter. Instead, she shifted into defensive mode, protecting Tyler even as the evidence of his deception surrounded her. Tyler made mistakes, but Randall should have communicated better. Mom said, her voice tight with forced logic. If he was paying our bills, why didn't he tell us? Why did he let us think Tyler was handling everything? This whole mess could have been avoided if Randall had just been honest from the beginning. Dad stared at his wife with the same expression I had seen him use when trying to understand blueprints that made no sense. Mom was rewriting history in real time, transforming Tyler's systematic fraud into Randall's failure to communicate, making the victim responsible for the crime. Tyler, meanwhile, had locked himself in his room and was making desperate phone calls to every family member and friend he could think of, trying to borrow enough money to make a mortgage payment and buy more time for his lies. Uncle Jerry hung up on him after Tyler claimed the family was facing a temporary cash flow issue due to investment timing. Cousin Michelle blocked his number after he asked to borrow $10,000 for emergency business expenses. That evening, Mom called me for the first time since Thanksgiving. Her voice was strained but still carried the tone she used when she expected immediate compliance with her wishes. "Randall, you need to come home and fix this. Your father is overreacting to Tyler's situation, and we need to work together as a family to solve this problem." She paused, waiting for me to agree. "Tyler made some poor choices, but he's learned his lesson. We can put this behind us if everyone just commits to moving forward. Mom, Tyler stole my identity to commit fraud. He used my financial support as evidence that he was successfully managing family investments while borrowing money from relatives under false pretenses." I kept my voice level. This is not a family disagreement that can be resolved with better communication. This is criminal behavior that has consequences. Don't be so dramatic, Randall. Tyler is your brother. Family forgives family. Mom's voice took on the manipulative edge I remembered from childhood arguments. "You know he's been going through a rough patch since his last job ended. He just needs support and understanding, not judgment. Mom, I need you to acknowledge what you said to me at Thanksgiving dinner. I need you to admit that you were wrong to call me a burden while I was sacrificing my own financial security to support this family." My heart was pounding, but my voice stayed calm. "Until you're ready to face the truth about Tyler and take responsibility for how you've treated me, there's nothing to discuss." Mom's response revealed everything I needed to know about her priorities. "I was upset that day, Randall. You know I didn't mean it exactly the way it sounded." Her voice carried no genuine remorse, only irritation at having to address the issue. "Tyler's going through a difficult time, and you walking out like that just made everything worse for everyone. We need to focus on solutions, not rehashing things that were said in the heat of the moment." I hung up the phone and sat in my apartment, finally understanding that Mom would never acknowledge her role in this disaster. She would protect Tyler's image and her own denial at any cost, even if it meant losing her home and destroying what remained of our family relationships. The truth was too threatening to her worldview to be accepted, so she would simply refuse to see it. The foreclosure papers arrived on a gray January morning, delivered by a process server who rang the doorbell at 8:15, while Dad was drinking coffee and reading about construction techniques he could no longer practice due to his arthritis. The official documents gave the family exactly 30 days to pay $18,417 in back mortgage payments and legal fees, or lose the house Dad had built with his own hands 3 decades earlier. Tyler read the papers with growing panic. the legal language making it clear that his months of empty promises and fictional payment plans had run out. For the first time since college, Tyler was forced to confront consequences he could not lie, charm, or manipulate his way out of. The house would be sold at public auction, and their family would be homeless, unless they produced money Tyler had no ability to obtain. Mom's diabetes symptoms worsened dramatically, as the stress of potential homelessness combined with her inability to afford consistent medication. When she fainted at the grocery store and had to be taken to the emergency room by ambulance, Dad realized that Tyler's deception had created a medical crisis alongside the financial disaster. The hospital bills would add another layer to their crushing debt load. Dad was forced to sell his vintage 1973 Harley-Davidson motorcycle, the one possession he had treasured since his 20s, to raise money for Mom's insulin and basic household expenses. The $2,000 he received felt like a fortune and an insult simultaneously, a lifetime of work reduced to a fraction of what Tyler owed in gambling debts. Tyler's extended fraud began unraveling as family, friends, and relatives started comparing notes about his borrowing requests. Uncle Jerry called Dad to ask about the family investment crisis Tyler had described when seeking emergency funding. Cousin Michelle mentioned Tyler's claims about managing sophisticated portfolios for high-net-worth clients. Mrs. Patterson from next door asked if Tyler's financial consulting business was expanding since he had offered to help her plan for retirement. Each conversation revealed another layer of Tyler's deception, another person he had approached with fictional stories about family wealth and temporary cash flow problems. The total amount Tyler had borrowed from relatives and family friends reached $12,000 money he had spent maintaining his fake lifestyle, instead of addressing any actual bills or obligations. Dr. Coleman helped me process the guilt I felt watching my family's situation deteriorate. During our weekly sessions, she repeatedly emphasized that Tyler's choices and their consequences were not my responsibility to fix, even if I had the financial ability to intervene. Randall, you're experiencing what therapists call trauma bonding with your family system, Dr. Coleman explained during one particularly difficult session. You've been conditioned to believe that their well-being is more important than your own, and that their problems are your fault if you don't solve them. But Tyler's criminal behavior and your parents' enabling response are not emergencies you created or situations you're obligated to rescue. Amanda offered legal advice about protecting myself from potential liability related to Tyler's fraud. As a practicing attorney, she understood the criminal implications of identity theft and financial misrepresentation in ways my family could not or would not acknowledge. Randall, if Tyler has been using your financial activity as evidence of his own income and assets, you could be implicated in any investigations into his fraudulent claims, Amanda explained over lunch near her office. You need to document everything: bank statements, payment records, communication with your family, evidence of Tyler's lies. If this situation escalates to criminal charges, you'll want proof that you were a victim of his deception, not a participant in his schemes. On a Wednesday night in late January, Tyler appeared at my apartment door at 11:30, drunk and desperate in a way I had never seen him before. His usual confident swagger had been replaced by twitchy paranoia, and his clothes looked like he had been sleeping in them for days. When I opened the door, he pushed past me into my living room and collapsed onto my couch. "Randall, I need help. Real help this time." Tyler's voice was slurred but urgent. "I did something really stupid, and now I'm in serious trouble." What Tyler confessed over the next 2 hours was worse than anything I had imagined. He had not only been living off credit cards and borrowing money from relatives, he had been forging my signature on credit applications and using my personal information to open accounts he had no intention of repaying. The debt he had accumulated in my name totaled over $40,000 across 7 different credit cards and 2 personal loans. It started small. Tyler said, his hands shaking as he tried to light a cigarette. Just one card to cover expenses until I found another job. But then I needed more money to make the minimum payments, so I opened another account. And then another. Tyler showed me threatening text messages from people I had never heard of, men with names like Vincent and Bobby, who were demanding immediate payment of gambling debts Tyler had accumulated at underground poker games and sports betting operations. The messages made it clear that these were not patient creditors willing to negotiate payment plans. "They think you're the one who owes them money," Tyler admitted, avoiding eye contact. "I used your name and address when I set up the accounts. They've been to your apartment building twice, looking for you, asking the doorman about your schedule and when you usually get home from work." The realization that Tyler had not only stolen my financial identity, but had also put my physical safety at risk sent a surge of cold fury through my chest. Tyler was not just irresponsible or manipulative, he was genuinely dangerous to everyone around him, including me. "Tyler, you've committed multiple felonies." I said, my voice completely calm despite the adrenaline coursing through my system. "Identity theft, wire fraud, potentially extortion depending on how you threaten these lenders. And now you've exposed me to violent criminals who think I'm responsible for debts I never incurred." Tyler started crying, the first genuine emotion I had seen from him in years. But even his tears felt manipulative, designed to generate sympathy rather than express authentic remorse. "I know I messed up, but you're my brother. You can't let them hurt me. And you can't let Mom and Dad lose their house because of my mistakes." Tyler looked up at me with red, desperate eyes. "If you just help me one more time, I swear I'll get clean and find a real job and pay you back everything. I'll go to rehab, I'll get therapy, whatever it takes." I stared at Tyler, seeing clearly for the first time not my little brother who needed protection, but a criminal who had stolen my identity, endangered my safety, and destroyed my family's financial stability while manipulating everyone around him for years. The person sitting on my couch was not someone I could save or fix. He was someone I needed to be protected from. "Tyler, get out of my apartment," I said quietly. "Don't contact me again. Don't go to Mom and Dad's house. Don't borrow money from anyone else in our family. If those people you owe money to contact me, I'm calling the police immediately and filing fraud reports for every account you opened in my name." Tyler left that night, but not before warning me that the dangerous people he owed money to were not the type to accept explanations about mistaken identity. For the first time since Thanksgiving, I felt genuinely afraid, not just angry or hurt. Tyler's criminality had escalated far beyond family dysfunction into territory that could get me seriously injured or killed. I did not panic. Instead, I spent the next morning methodically documenting every piece of evidence Tyler had inadvertently provided, screenshots of the threatening messages, names, and phone numbers of his creditors' details about the forged credit applications, bank account numbers he had mentioned during his confession. If Tyler thought he could drag me down with him, he was about to learn that 3 years of software engineering had taught me how to systematically solve complex problems. By noon, I had contacted Amanda for emergency legal consultation. As a practicing attorney with experience in financial crimes, she understood immediately that Tyler's situation had moved far beyond family drama into federal criminal territory. Randall identity theft for amounts over $10,000 is a felony that carries potential prison time, Amanda explained during our emergency meeting. "The fact that Tyler used your information to establish relationships with illegal gambling operations makes this even more serious. You're not just dealing with credit card fraud, you're potentially connected to organized crime investigations." Amanda helped me contact the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, which took immediate interest in Tyler's case due to the scale of identity theft and the involvement of underground gambling operations. Agent Patricia Stevens, a veteran investigator specializing in financial fraud, met with me that afternoon to review the evidence. "Mr. Williams, your brother, has committed multiple federal crimes, But more importantly for our purposes, his gambling debts connect him to a criminal organization we've been investigating for over a year, Agent Stevens explained. The people he owes money to are part of a larger operation that specializes in targeting individuals with gambling problems and then using identity theft and extortion to collect debts. My employer, Cloud Tech Solutions, offered immediate support when I explained the situation to my manager, Jennifer Chang. The company's legal team provided additional attorneys to help protect me from liability, and I was placed on paid protective leave while the investigation proceeded. Credit monitoring services revealed the full scope of Tyler's financial crimes against me. 7 credit cards had been opened in my name over 6 months with total debt of $43,000 and change across accounts I had never seen or authorized. 2 personal loans from predatory lenders added another $15,000 in obligations that were already in default. Agent Stevens explained that Tyler's arrest would likely trigger a much larger investigation into the criminal organization that had facilitated his gambling and subsequent identity theft. "Your brother was not operating alone," she said during our second meeting. "The people who extended him credit and gambling opportunities are part of a sophisticated operation that targets vulnerable individuals and then uses their personal information to commit broader financial crimes. Tyler's case could help us dismantle a significant criminal enterprise." Dad finally found the courage to stand up to Mom when she suggested working things out quietly to protect Tyler from criminal charges. For the first time in their 40-year marriage, Dad directly challenged Mom's need to protect Tyler at everyone else's expense. "Mary, our son, is a criminal who stole his brother's identity and endangered his safety." Dad said, his voice firm in a way Mom had not heard in years. Randall could have been hurt or killed because of Tyler's lies. "I will not ask him to protect the person who betrayed him and destroyed our family. Mom's sister Janet called unexpectedly, revealing that Tyler had approached her 6 months earlier with a sophisticated story about helping the family invest her retirement savings in guaranteed return opportunities. Janet had been suspicious enough to consult her financial advisor, who recognized Tyler's pitch as a classic scam and warned her to avoid any financial dealings with him. "I should have told you then," Janet admitted to Dad. "But Tyler convinced me that you and Mary knew about his investment business and that Randall was too conservative to understand sophisticated financial strategies. I realize now that he was setting me up to steal my retirement money just like he stole from Randall." The investigation moved quickly once Tyler was arrested on federal charges of identity theft, wire fraud, and money laundering. The FBI search of his room uncovered detailed records of his criminal activities notebooks, with my personal information, printed copies of credit applications with forged signatures, and communication with the gambling operation that showed Tyler had been planning to expand his fraud to include other family members and family friends. Most shocking of all, investigators found evidence that Tyler had been researching Dad's Social Security information and Mom's medical records, apparently planning to use their identities for additional fraud if his schemes using my information had been successful. Tyler had not just betrayed me. He had been preparing to destroy our entire family's financial future to support his gambling addiction and fake lifestyle. The criminal gambling operation Tyler had been involved with turned out to be much larger than anyone had realized. Agent Stevens called to inform me that Tyler's cooperation with the investigation had led to arrests of 12 other individuals involved in identity theft, money laundering, and illegal gambling operations across 3 states. "Mr. Williams, your brother's criminal activity was part of a network that has stolen over $2 million from victims across the region," Agent Stevens explained. "Tyler was not just a customer of their services. He was actively recruiting other potential victims by using his family connections and fabricated success story to gain people's trust. The people Tyler owed money to, who had threatened me with violence, were arrested as part of the broader investigation. Vincent Morales and Robert Chen, the men whose threatening messages Tyler had shown me, were charged with extortion money laundering and operating illegal gambling enterprises. Their arrest meant Tyler's gambling debts were no longer a threat to my safety, but also revealed how deep Tyler had gotten involved with genuinely dangerous criminals. Amanda helped me understand that Tyler's arrest and the subsequent investigation actually protected me from the financial liability of his fraud. Asset forfeiture from the criminal organization would recover most of the money Tyler had stolen. Using my identity and federal victim compensation programs would help restore my credit rating and financial standing. "Randall, you didn't just survive Tyler's betrayal," Amanda said as we reviewed the final legal documents. "By refusing to enable his criminal behavior and instead seeking justice, you helped law enforcement shut down a criminal enterprise that was destroying families across multiple states. Tyler forced you to choose between family loyalty and justice, and you made the right choice for everyone." Dr. Coleman helped me understand that Tyler's criminal behavior was the logical endpoint of years of family enabling and my own codependent responses to his manipulation. "Randall, your family system taught Tyler that he would never face real consequences for his actions because someone would always rescue him," she explained. "When you stopped providing financial support instead of learning responsibility, Tyler escalated to criminal behavior because he had never learned to solve problems through honest work and genuine effort." For the first time since Thanksgiving, I felt something I had not experienced in years: genuine hope for my own future. Tyler's arrest meant I was finally free from the obligation to subsidize his lies and manipulation. The criminal investigation had exposed the true extent of his betrayal while providing legal protection from the consequences of his actions. Most importantly, I had learned to prioritize my own well-being over family dysfunction, a skill that would serve me for the rest of my life. 3 months after Tyler's arrest, he accepted a plea agreement for identity theft, wire fraud, and money laundering that sentenced him to 3 years in federal prison with restitution orders that would follow him for decades. The FBI's investigation of the gambling operation resulted in asset forfeiture that recovered $38,000 of the $43,000 Tyler had stolen, using my identity, with victim compensation funds covering the remaining balance. Dad made the difficult decision to sell the house before foreclosure proceedings could destroy what remained of his credit. The modest profit from the sale, combined with his Social Security benefits, allowed him to move into a comfortable senior community, where he no longer had to worry about maintaining property he could not afford. For the first time in years, Dad looked peaceful instead of constantly stressed about money and Tyler's behavior. Mom underwent 6 months of intensive therapy with a counselor who specialized in family dysfunction and enabling behaviors. The process was painful and slow, but eventually, Mom was able to write me a genuine letter of apology that acknowledged her role in Tyler's destructive behavior and the cruelty of her words at Thanksgiving dinner. "Dear Randall," her letter began, "I have spent months trying to understand how I could have been so blind to Tyler's lies and so cruel to the son who was actually taking care of our family. Dr. Martinez has helped me see that my favoritism toward Tyler was not love. It was fear of confronting his problems and my own failures as a mother. You deserved recognition, gratitude, and respect for your sacrifices, and instead I gave you criticism and rejection. I cannot undo the damage I caused, but I want you to know that I finally understand the truth about both of my sons." Amanda and I had been dating officially for 4 months when I used the money recovered from Tyler's fraud as a down payment on a beautiful colonial house in the suburbs where we had both grown up. The house had everything my cramped apartment lacked: space, natural light, a real kitchen, and most importantly, room for a life I was finally allowed to live on my own terms. My promotion at Cloud Tech Solutions came with a substantial salary increase and an offer to transfer to the company's new Seattle office as a senior development manager. The opportunity represented everything I had wanted professionally, but never pursued because of family obligations, leadership responsibility, creative freedom, and financial rewards that reflected my actual contributions rather than my willingness to subsidize other people's failures. Dr. Coleman helped me understand that protecting myself from Tyler's criminal behavior was not selfish. It was the healthy response that allowed law enforcement to help other victims and prevent future crimes. Randall, by refusing to enable Tyler's fraud and instead seeking justice, you did not just protect yourself, she explained during our final session. You helped shut down a criminal operation that was destroying other families and gave Tyler the first real consequences he had ever faced for his actions. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to let them experience the results of their choices. Uncle Jerry and several other family members who had initially believed Tyler's lies about my jealousy and instability reached out to rebuild relationships with me. They expressed genuine remorse for doubting my character and appreciation for my years of quiet sacrifice. These conversations helped me understand that Tyler's manipulation had damaged relationships throughout our extended family, not just within our immediate household. On a warm Saturday morning in June, I hosted my first family gathering in my new home. Dad was there sober and genuinely proud of my accomplishments for the first time I could remember. Mom came too, following the boundaries I had established about respectful communication and no attempts to manipulate me into visiting Tyler in prison. Most importantly, Amanda was there wearing my grandmother's engagement ring, which Mom had insisted I should have, since Tyler would not be needing family heirlooms for quite some time. As I looked around the dining room at people who truly valued me as a person, rather than an ATM, I realized that sometimes losing a family is the only way to find your real one. Dad's respect felt genuine instead of conditional on my financial contributions. Mom's affection seemed authentic rather than manipulative. Amanda's love was based on who I actually was, not what I could provide for people who took my sacrifices for granted. The life lesson that emerged from this painful experience was profound and lasting. Love is not about sacrifice without recognition, and family is not about blood relationships, but about mutual respect, honesty, and genuine support. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is allowing them to experience the consequences of their choices. When I stopped enabling Tyler's lies and criminal behavior, I did not just save myself from further exploitation. I gave my parents the opportunity to see the truth about their sons and choose authentic love over comfortable delusions. Tyler's imprisonment forced him into the first honest self-reflection of his adult life, and his letters from prison suggest he is finally beginning to understand the damage his lies and manipulation caused to everyone who loved him. Whether he will emerge as a genuinely changed person remains to be seen, but that outcome is no longer my responsibility to manage or guarantee. I learned that protecting yourself from toxic family dynamics is not betrayal. It is necessary self-care that allows healthy relationships to develop. Setting boundaries with manipulative people is not selfish. It is the foundation of authentic love that benefits everyone involved. Most importantly, I discovered that you cannot fix people who do not want to be fixed, but you can always choose to build a life that reflects your own values and priorities, rather than other people's expectations. My new life with Amanda, my relationship with Dad, based on mutual respect rather than financial dependence, and my career success that is finally recognized and rewarded have all been possible because I chose justice over enabling and self-care over martyrdom. The family I have now is smaller than the one I was born into, but it is infinitely more honest, supportive, and loving. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and protecting yourself from toxic behavior? How did you find the courage to set boundaries with people you love, even when they made you feel guilty for prioritizing your own well-being? Your experiences and insights could help other people who are struggling with similar family dynamics. So please share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you or reminded you of your own journey toward healthier relationships, please hit the like button and subscribe for more stories about overcoming family dysfunction and building authentic connections. Sharing this video with friends or family members who might benefit from hearing about the importance of boundaries and self-respect would mean a lot to me and could make a real difference in their lives. Thank you for listening to my story and for being part of a community that values honesty, growth, and genuine love over comfortable lies and toxic enabling. Remember that choosing yourself is not selfish. It is the first step toward building relationships that honor the person you truly are.